Fala galera, bem-vindos a mais um episódio de Sonoridades. Hoje a gente tem Tony Levin, do King Crimson, Peter Gabriel, Beats, Tony Levin Stevens, na verdade, boss do Levin Stevens, mas faz parte da banda. Ele também teve um projeto Tony Levin Band, Duke Intention Experiment, Heavy Man, chegou a tocar com o Yes, chegou a gravar o álbum do Pink Floyd, quase foi do Pink Floyd. Resumindo, o cara é monstruoso no meio do rock progressivo, do jazz, do fusion. Tá vindo pro Brasil agora, sexta-feira, com Beat, que é o projeto que celebra três discos dos anos 80 do King Crimson com Ainda Below. Tem gênio do Steve Vai na guitarra e outro gênio que é Danny Carey na batera. Imperdível esse show, sexta-feira agora. A gente falou do disco novo do que ele lançou solo, do beat, falamos de inteligência artificial, de uma possível gravação dessa formação, né, celebrando outras coisas em Prison, entre outros assuntos. Aqui em cima tem provavelmente vídeos que você vai gostar. Aqui embaixo os podcasts em português. Faça chegar, a gente tem que fazer chegar. Curta, confira, compartilhe. Com vocês. Pode dar. So, Mr. Tony, nice to talk with you. It's a pleasure and an honor for me, since I'm a
Thank
huge
you.
fan of your work.
Thank you very much. A pleasure for me
So,
too.
so this is obviously not your first time here in Brazil. You already know how crazy we are for your music, but this is your first time here with such a lineup. So what can we expect from your concert?
The band is very special to us. We've done a lot of shows together, and we've been having a lot of fun at the shows, in addition to the challenge of playing this difficult music of King Crimson in the 1980s. I think the lineup is very special. Adrian Belew and I, of course, have been playing together since the earth cooled for a long time. But Steve Vai is very special. Anyone who's seen him knows that. And Danny Carey brings a different flavor on drums than we've had before. Danny Carey of the band Tool, of course. And he's fantastic, and he keeps me on my toes. I'll put it that way, as the bass player, trying to have a really exciting rhythm section under the great guitar players.
Yeah. And the set list consists on the three albums with Andrew, correct? The first
Yes, we
three
can.
albums.
Yes, we do almost everything from those albums. Not absolutely everything. There were some pieces that really weren't completely written anyway. They were just jams. But we do almost everything, and most nights we do also one other piece from King Crimson that was not from that era, just for fun and for the fans who want to hear that.
And what is the secret for the success? Because everybody loves King Crimson here in Brazil.
Thank you. But what did you ask? What's the secret of the set
Yeah,
list
what's the secret? What's the
or the
secret for
sequence?
the secret for the success
Secret.
of yeah?
Uh, 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 I'm still not sure. You're asking about the set list or the band?
The hype for the great relevance for King Crimson. What's the secret for the
Okay.
relevance?
Thank you. It's still early in the morning for me, so I'm a little sleepy. I didn't have
Okay.
enough espresso. Uh, uh, well, the band, I'm not the one to analyze how influential King Crimson was, but it seems like other bands, other musicians listened to it and were influenced by it in the 1980s. So to revisit that music is an interesting thing because it was special to begin with. But as I said, we try to change it. We play the compositions the way they were, but each player lends his own style of playing to it. And Steve Vai and Danny Carey have a very different style of playing. And also, I've changed through the years, and I don't play exactly the way I did back in the 1980s. So to me, it's relevant because it's good music and it's played by, we hope, excellent musicians.
Yeah. And you played here in Rock in Rio with King Crimson, correct?
Yes, a long time ago.
So
It
how
was
was this experience?
Oh, very special. That's a big festival. That's bigger than we usually play, and the audience very excited. It was special in every way. I'm always very happy to come to Brazil. It's rare. I don't come too often, but when I do, usually it's Sao Paulo, not the Rio, but it was very special.
And you play here in São Paulo with Stickman. I was
Yes.
there. I was there in the real. What a blast! You play with a lot of people that I don't know. I don't know if I have the right to ask you, but you play with Stickman, you play with Liquid Tension, Peter Gabriel, you have Yes, Herbie Mann, a lot of people that are influential. Do you consider yourself an influence for the new musicians?
You know what? I don't really think about that. I'm like, there's a lot of musicians like me. I just immerse myself in the music I'm playing, what I'm going to do in this case on the tour coming up, but also I'm writing music for another album and for Stickman music, and I'm very focused on that, and I don't stand back and look at the with the normal perspective at my career or what I've done, or even look at myself and think, what kind of bass player am I? Who's listening to me? I just don't do that, and I forgive myself for that because I'm very lucky. I realize at my age I'm very lucky to be doing what I love to do and to be immersed in it and not look at the big picture is quite okay.
Yeah. And nowadays we have AI who's playing music, creating music, writing music. And when King Crimson played in the 80s was ahead of the time with technology and creativity. So how do you see this nowadays?
That's a very good question. There are some composers working with AI. I'm not myself. In Stickman, the other guy who writes the music is Marcus Reuter, and he is very interested in using AI to help him in his composition. So the album that we're writing now, that will come out later this year, will have some contribution from AI. I don't really know about it. I'm not only am I not an expert, but I haven't heard yet the music he'll come up with assisted by AI. But I'm always open to new ideas. We're all a little concerned that AI might replace musicians in some ways, and of course I've read about that. But mostly I'm interested in what's going to happen and try to lend my musical ability to fit in with whatever's going on.
And how do you see the AI like Paul McCartney did with Beatles? Because they only use AI to clean some things and came up with the song that we heard.
I heard about that.
Yeah, and Randy Travis from country music, he kind of use AI to pick some tracks from what he can't sing anymore, so he picked some tracks and create a new track, a new song with AI, and this song went to the charts, the Billboard charts, was the number one. So how do you see this?
It's crazy, but that's the world we live in. So I'm like everybody else, like the fans. I'm just watching to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, and nowadays also we have vinyl. The vinyl is kind of the new thing of
Yeah,
music, and
yeah.
now we get even cassettes. So how do you see this? You
I
know,
heard okay, that very different for me because vinyl I'm excited about. I never stopped listening to vinyl, and I put out my own solo album last September. It's called Bringing It Down to the Bass, and it was very important to me to release it a vinyl edition because I'm also a photographer, and when you design the booklet of pictures, photos, it's a very different thing if it can be 12 inches, if it can be the size of an LP. So I was immersed and excited about that part of it, and I'm very happy that it came out not just as a CD but as vinyl. And as for cassette tapes, yes, I've heard people told me that they're coming back, but I'm not ready for that. I still have my old cassette tapes because I was around back then and they stretched and they got out of tune and they're not good really. I don't understand why we're going back to it, but I'll see. I don't see that I will be releasing anything on cassette tape, that's for sure.
I think it's kind of the analogic feeling.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about it. It's very easy to sell. When we do live shows, we call what we sell, the T-shirts and the CDs and the music, we call that merch. And it's very easy to sell cassettes at merch because they're small. So
Yeah.
that's good. But I would rather not. I would rather sell CDs.
Yeah. You talk about your last solo album. So how do you see the reception and for the people and for the critics? Because everybody loves it.
I got good reviews. That's nice. I didn't really talk to many people who heard it. The reason is because I've been on the road almost all the time since then. I haven't been able to collect myself and think about the album. I did a lot of interviews right when it came out, and then we'd had those 64 shows with the Beat Band. That's a lot of shows. And then after that, I was home for a little bit, a few weeks, and then I went to Europe with Stickman. So I haven't really paid attention, but I'm glad that people like it. I know I put a lot of myself into that album, maybe 10 years of writing pieces, and I wanted to focus not just on the bass. Of course, it's called bringing it down to the bass. And I have photos, interesting photo portraits I took of each bass I used, and maybe some stories are included about the bass. Uh, but it was important to me to bring in a lot of my friends who play really great and to feature the other musicians. So I have different drummer on each track, and it's like a reading who the drummers are is very special. It's like a list of great drummers of our time. So I'm honored that they wanted to play on my tracks.
Jerry Marotta, Gavin Jerry, Jerry Marotta, Joe Bonadio, Torres, Alan Schwartzberg, Ringo Starr, Omar Hakim, Carmine Piche, Nick Mason, Ellen White, Chad Wackerman, Omar Hakim, Carmine Piche, Nick Mason, Ellen White, Chad Wackerman, Gary Garth, Parker, John O'Brien, Howard Van Sorgen, Omar Hakim, Carmine Piche, Nick Mason, Ellen White, Chad Wackerman, Peter Erskine, Randy Charlante, Matt Apps, Nick Rich, Claudio Fossati, Phil Collins, J.R. Robinson, Jim Gordon, Greg Potter, Mark Brzezicki, Omar Hakim, Carmine Apiche, Jimmy Young, Zach Alpha, Steve Gadd.
And also this album when it came, at least for the people who I know that are bass players, they said it's a fresh, renew and fresh music from one of the greatest bass player of all time.
Well, that's very kind. I hope it's fresh. I try to be, and I used it for it in a way. It's focused on bass playing because I used also some different techniques. So each piece, I thought, well, okay, I'm going to use a hammer-on technique and try to write a great piece around that, or funk fingers, this other way I play, or the Chapman stick, or fretless. And I have one very special fretless bass. That's the first Steinberger bass, and I kind of designed a piece around that. So it's a little unusual for an album in that it's each piece is designed a little bit around the instrument used on it.
And I have to say your basses are amazing. I'm a drummer, so when I watch that, I said,
Yeah.
"Whoa, it's a cool thing
Well,
to
thank you.
watch."
Thank you. And bass players and drummers, they have a chemistry between them. They're in a way they're like a family when you're, especially if you're in a band, but even if you're doing a session, the bass player and drummer hear everything the other guy does, and they're kind of locked together. And the rest of the band can be with them or not. It doesn't matter. So we have a special relationship, and in a way, I try to feature that in my music.
Yeah, and I want to bring back to beat because after this tour, do you consider maybe releasing something new with these guys?
That's a question we get asked a lot. The answer is there is no plan at this time to do that. It takes a lot of planning ahead because these guys are all very busy with other bands. Even to book a tour like the one that brings us to Brazil takes some luck because Tool has to not be touring, and Adrian Belew and Steve Vai alone is constantly touring. And then there's me too. Peter Gabriel has to not be touring, and Stickman. Okay, so we're lucky to tour, and we've discussed. Okay, someday we ought to do that. That's as far as we've got. I'll tell the truth about it. I wish there were plans to make a solo album, but not at the current time.
Okay. I think I have time for more three questions. Is okay with
Yeah.
you?
Oh, okay with me, sure.
Um, this one is one of my particular. Um, I cherish this project a lot. It's Bosio, Levins, and Steven. I cherish a lot because I was started to play drums and I heard this album a lot.
Wow.
And I have to say, do you consider maybe one day playing again with Bosio or Stevens?
We haven't talked about it, but it would be great. I would be happy to do it. A lot of that, how shall I put it? If you have a band and you're committed to the band, that's one thing. That's great. Otherwise, I call it a project. So when I get together with those guys, and I've done a lot of projects, they're very special. But it comes second place after the band you're in. So it always is a problematic. How are we going to tour? So we were lucky to make a second album with BLS, but we weren't able to tour. And so it wasn't, to me, it didn't become a real band. The music was very special. Steve Stevens writes great stuff, and it deserved to be a band, but we weren't able to do it. And then when you add in the record label, when there's a record label involved, things get complicated too. So there's no talk of that. Actually, I emailed Terry Bozzio just a few weeks ago. Maybe I'll write him again and say, "Do you think we could ever do that?" But it won't be easy. But I would like it musically. I would like it very much. If we're not able to tour, it's not so special. Albums is great, but what I live for is to bring good music to people live and to have that experience.
It's kind of the humanity of the music.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And if you have to encapsulate your entire career in one song or one album that you participate or created, but that you present for someone who lives on Mars and doesn't know anything about 2011, which
I'm
one would be and
that
why?
that's a good question. I'm not good at those kind of questions because, as you can tell already from talking to me, I don't think back a lot about what I've done. So I'm going to give you an answer, but not a brilliant one. I'm going to say my last album, my most recent album, which is bringing it down to the base. And I'm sorry that that's not the most creative answer, but that's the one that's on my brain because I just finished it.
Yeah, maybe it's the one the people can listen and say, "Oh, that's cool. I want to research more."
Yes, yes, exactly.
And if you have to do an advice for for your younger self, for the young 2011, which
Uh,
advice you would consider to give?
I don't. That's a good question. I've heard the question, but I've never been asked that question. I, oh, I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm very happy with the choices I made. Sometimes I missed something good music and felt bad about that, but if I was back in the same position, I would probably do the same thing. You know, when I was asked to I played an album with Pink Floyd and they asked me to tour with them, and I wish I had done that tour, but I was busy with the end of a Peter Gabriel tour, and I'm going to give myself advice. I'm going to say, do what you did. Stay faithful to Peter. Finish that tour with Peter Gabriel and shrug your shoulders and say, "Oh, it's too bad I couldn't do Pink Floyd." So that's my answer to you.
Okay.
At least
Tony,
it's honest.
yeah, yeah. Tony, thanks so much for your time. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.